Whether you've had your plants healed in or you're able to plant them right away upon receiving them, the planting process is going to be the same. Fruit trees are planted while they're still dormant from the 1st of February through mid-March. Now, since our plants are bare root, it's important not to let them dry out or freeze during the planting process. So it's a good idea to prepare your hole ahead of time. And we want to make a hole that's going to be 2 to 3 times as wide as the root ball. And typically we use the native soil in our hole when we fill it back. But our soil is such heavy clay. I've added a little bit of compost from our compost pile and mixed it in with our native soil. That'll add some organic matter in here. Another thing when you have really heavy clay soils is the side walls can be solid, which creates kind of a bowl. So you want to take a shovel and break that up a little bit. Now that's going to create some openings where the roots can get through. It's also going to help, if you do this throughout the bottom, to create drainage spaces. I've made a little bit of a mound in the bottom of my soil to help us set our tree at the proper depth. We want to set it at the same depth where it was growing in the nursery. And you can look at this and identify that again by the change in color where the soil was. Most of the time the soil kind of creates a stain and you can see where it's been set. There's a couple of broken roots and it's perfectly acceptable and a really good idea to come in and trim those back. If there's a jagged edge like this, you want to prune that as well. Okay, we're ready to set our tree and I've got it at the proper depth. I've made a small mound at the bottom of our hole so that I could set the tree at the proper depth. It's a good idea to get some help when you're setting trees so that one person can hold it upright while the other fills. You want to firm the soil in gently around the base of the plant. Also, it's a good idea to put some mulch around the tree. We're going to have to irrigate our tree as it gets established throughout the season, and the mulch will help retain soil moisture in the rooting zone. Now, trees need a lot of space to establish a healthy root system. The actual spacing is going to depend slightly whether you're growing a dwarf or a full-size tree, but generally somewhere between 10 and 20 feet. If you're planting more than one row, space your rows about 24 feet apart. Now this is probably the most difficult part of planting a new fruit tree. The pruning process begins by removing the upper section of the tree. We're going to cut it back to a height of about 18 to 24 inches, cutting it at an angle just above a bud. We'll come back and look at pruning and training this tree later in the season.